Greetings everyone, and welcome to Citizens Corner. I am Jarvis. With me as always is the man who gets his questions from Alex Trebek, Lightning Dragon.
I'm terrible at Jeopardy!
Alright, so let's go ahead and kind of jump into this. And I do want to make a quick note. Citizens Corner is going to be extending into questions not only about Star Citizen, but about any of our future videos coming out. So if we're doing our deep dives, or if we're doing an extra cast and there's something you have a question in there, if we think it's a good question or it makes the top 3 or whatever number we're doing this week, basically we'll go ahead and add it in.
The number of questions is always subject to change because sometimes we get a lot and sometimes we can't talk about all of them, or sometimes we answer one question and also at the same time answer another question, and it just depends.
And sometimes we put one on hold until we have a shortage of other questions and throw it in there. So anyway, starting off with Leonardo Farias. This is in relation to our Mudrunner video, which most of you didn't watch. I'm very disappointed. My brother put a lot of playtime into that.
It's a fun game.
He says, don't want to turn everything into a Star Citizen comment, but would you like some kind of similar terrain simulation? Do you think it would play well with things like outposts? Well, it would if we didn't have hovering vehicles and flying vehicles.
That was my first thought as well.
I mean, if they added that kind of muddy terrain and whatnot, nobody would drive ground vehicles at all.
Yeah, because remember, we're talking about human beings, and if they have the option of taking the easy route, most of the time they take the easy route.
Exactly.
Well, this planet's it's a rainforest planet. The whole planet's a forest. It's muddy, nasty, disgusting. There's trees everywhere, underbrush all the time. Would you like to take this tracked vehicle that goes 2 miles an hour, or would you like to take this, taxi service that floats above the trees?
Exactly. So no, I don't see them ever doing anything like that. It's really kind of a niche thing. I think most people wouldn't want that kind of level of detail, ground deformation, getting stuck in the mud puddle.
I think it would also be really, really hard on an engine like Star Citizen.
Yeah, they got enough going on.
Yeah, it's not that they couldn't add it. I'm sure they could, but to do that level of simulation on a more than 4-player, and even then,
immersion, get out and push.
Well, even in Mudrunners, right? Between the 4 players, none of that is persistent to the entire game world.
True.
It's only persistent to you as the player. So it wouldn't really matter quite as much. But I think it would just be really, really hard on the game engine and just too much work. It'd be cool, but I think it'd be a waste of developer time to add.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm not against the idea. As far as the concept, I like those kind of things. That's why clearly I have that game. But I just think that we got to keep that part just basic as it is. I think that would be just fine as it is. Besides, we're getting roads anyway, so.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
And that is why I have a Nox and a Dragonfly and everything else.
That's why I have spaceships, so I don't have to fly over the terrain at 2 miles an hour.
Dalton Branham says, the reason for the reverse thrust and hovering vertically was because that planet doesn't have an atmosphere and has very low gravity affecting objects. Well, on the video where I was showing, parking on my nose, that works pretty much anywhere, and there's a reason for that. We broke that down. Lightning and I did a video. We went back and used Kerbal Space Program to show the kilonewtons of thrust. We compared it to real-world values. We showed it based upon not only aircraft, but also like the Saturn V rocket and things like that. And we took CIG's values pulled from the game itself, and we plugged them into ship designs made through Kerbal. And the ships had so much thrust that they blew up. They blew up with re-entry effects from launch. And that's the thing, is that the thruster values that we have in Star Citizen for all the MAVs, some of them actually are higher than the mains by a multiple. I think one of the most egregious ones was the Starfarer, where you had one rotation which was like 250,000 kilonewtons, when the main engine was something like 20 or 22,000. So the whole point is, though, is that what's happening with these thrusters, it's not about physics. What's going on is that they have set an arbitrary time to max speed. So like, okay, we want the ship to go this fast, and we want it to take this long to take there. And then they have this thruster value that's right through the roof, and the game doesn't have to worry about the physics side of it. It just says, okay, well, we got enough power to do it. And it just does it.
Yeah,
so,
it takes the time that you want it to do it, and it just uses a certain percentage of the thrusters.
Right.
So there's no reason why all thrusters in the game can't have a value of 200 billion, because it doesn't care what the value is. All it cares about is, time to reach X amount of speed.
Right. And so that's one of the big things we've been pointing out for a while, as far as the thruster values go. So when I was doing the parking on the nose, that was just to illustrate that particular situation for those of you who haven't been around for a while, haven't seen that video before. There's a lot of blast casts we did in the past. We were doing this for 2 years. We did breakdowns and everything, pacing, flight model, arms race to the bottom, about bad combat mechanics, thruster value. I mean, we've done it all. We've broken it down in so many different ways, compared, contrasted different controllers. They're all in the folders in our channel if you're interested in checking them out. People have posted them on the forums. I've actually had a dev get into discussion about one of my ideas that I had posted on the forums. We've been looking at this stuff for a while, and this is the only area that I'm really critical on Star Citizen. I'm very patient with everything else, but I love flight. I've played every genre, from the most hardcore to the most simple, from Earth-based to space-based, and every mix in there in between, since video games were pretty much invented. I mean, come on, I grew up with a Pong system and Atari 2600. So, it's one of those things that I've seen it all. And I've seen how things mesh. I see how they work together. I'm taking a summary of all the experiences I've had in all those different games across all the genres, across all the decades, and I can quickly look at something and kind of tell you if it meshes or not. Just because when you have that much experience, and flight is what you love, and flying games is what you love, it doesn't, it just kind of becomes apparent to you. It's like, a chef can look at something and say you're doing it wrong. He just knows you're making the meal wrong. You got all the right ingredients. You're not putting it together right. In this case, actually, we got a few extra ingredients that need to go. But
yeah.
But yeah.
If they can make the flight fun, it doesn't have to be a one-to-one physics, recreation. What they just need is a good pacing for the game, and how they do that really doesn't matter that much. It's about how the game feels and plays.
Exactly. And things have to mesh. And, there's a lot of things you can excuse, and you can just say, because it's 900 years in the future. But that's the same thing as saying, because I pulled out my magic wand and abracadabra. Games are built not only on the logic of what they can do, but also what they can't do. And it's within that context, within those boundaries, that you set up everything that meshes together. If you create a situation where you could do pretty much anything, then the game gets to be really boring. Just think of it like you have an MMO, right? And you start off, you just load an MMO for the first time, and you can do whatever you want to. So you just go up to the end boss, and you flick him in the eye and kill him. There you go. Enjoyed. Have fun.
You beat the game.
You beat the game. You have to have boundaries. You have to have goals. You have to have these kind of things set in there to create a game. So we're always going to be talking about those things. Hopefully, as more people get their hands on 3.0, they'll see some of these issues and bring more attention to the forums about it. Because yes, I know it's an alpha. Before someone posts that down below, it's an alpha.
They've already posted it. They haven't listened to it.
Oh, that's right. They probably posted it because I said it. But the thing is that the sooner that you fix these problems, the easier it is to move forward. It's like basically having a bad frame and on a car, and you've kind of you're adding the engines and the wheel, and then you realize, oh yeah, the frame's bad. The more stuff you have on the car at that point in time or attached to it, the harder it's going to be to fix that situation.
Yeah, you have to rip the entire thing to pieces to fix it.
Exactly.
Or what you do is you end up with something that's everything's nice on the outside, but it won't last forever.
Yeah, exactly. Alright guys, well that concludes everything for this week's Blastcast. As always, leave your questions down below, comments, suggestions, all sorts of good stuff. And we will catch you sometime, whatever video we're doing nowadays. We still don't know.
Probably very soon if you watch all of our content.
True. Bye-bye.